Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all. We're coming back from our closed session tonight of the Benicia Unified School District's Governing Board's meeting. So I'm bringing us back from closed session, and we're going to move down the line on our agenda. I want to welcome everybody that's here. It's nice to see faces in the audience because we haven't had this for very much, and it's everybody that's watching at home. Hello, we love what we're doing for all of your students or your children, and we are here for you. So without further ado, I am going to move into to report on closed session items. There were no items to report out on regarding that, so we'll move to 5.2. This meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. Now we're going to go to our Pledge of Allegiance, and I am going to ask Gethsemane.
All right.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that. I'd like to see if we have the approval of the agenda as written.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you so much. Are we still doing the roll call votes on everybody? Roll call? Yes.
Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Moss, Trustee Carucci,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Gross.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're moving on to highlight, and I see a very special person in our audience here who's going to be sharing some information, and I'm going to have Dr. Young tee that up for Tanya Courtney, if you would like to come to the.
Hi, Tanya Courtney. So Tanya's our Director of Food Services and does an absolutely miraculous job. That's a fun part of the board meeting where we are pretty consistent with starting off with a highlight of something positive, many positives taking place throughout the district. So Ms. Courtney, I'd love to hear about food and nutrition services. Welcome.
Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me over today. I'd like to present a little bit of update of the food service department. So I'm gonna go. Try, Georgina. Okay. You want to do? Okay. So I just want to give you a little update on what we are doing for 2021 to 2022. So this year, all the children that are 18 and under receive a free breakfast and lunch meals. And as of today, we have 921 applications that we process. We have 877 students that are eligible for free meals. 231 students are eligible for reduced price meals, and it's still 232 students that did not reapply by September 30 when their eligibility expire. But we are continuing to calling the parents because we don't want them to miss out an opportunity to be receive a discount prices for their tests and applying for colleges and receive the pandemic EBT card, which is a gift card that they can purchase groceries. So point of service, or point of sales, or we call, what we are doing for breakfast and what we are doing for lunch. So at Benicia High School, we serve at the student center at 8 o'clock to 8:30. We serve about 60 to 80 students early in the morning. Then we have nine lines of service at the nutrition break, which is a second chance for breakfast. And we are serving between 260 to 350 breakfasts during the day, depending on the weather. And if it's a cold weather, the kids come more, and that helps. We want everybody to participate, but not all of them come. And during lunchtime, we have 12 lines open, and we serve between 750 to 850 lunches every day, which is about 200 more than we used to do before COVID. Okay. At Liberty's High School, we do approximately 20 to 24 lunches daily, and then we also deliver breakfast so they can have it the next morning. Benicia Community Day, we offer every day, but as of right now, we don't have any students um, wanting to take any. They know it's free. We promote to them, but that's their choice, and all we can do is offer. Benicia Middle School, we open for breakfast at 7:45 in the morning to 8:15. We serve about 20 to 30 students early in the morning. Then a nutrition break also, with a second chance for breakfast. We have 10 lines open. We open a third room, and we are serving between 250 to 280 breakfast lunches in the morning. And at lunchtime, we have 10 lines open for service. And with one lunch, we are serving 420 to 440 students every day. Does not include the a la carte items, then the students also have a choice to buy if they want to buy just a water, or if they want to buy just a cookie, or just a baked chips or something like that. At the elementary schools, for all the schools, our numbers are higher this year also. So Joe Henderson, all the elementary schools serve breakfast from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. So Joe Henderson, we serve about 90 to 105 breakfasts per day, and 280 to 310 lunches per day. Mary Pharma, 75 to 85 breakfasts, and 230 to 250 lunches. Matthew Turner, breakfast 50 to 60 breakfast every morning, and lunches 270 to 290. Robert Sample, breakfast 50 to 65, and lunch 270 to 300 lunches a day. So are our lines long? Yes, they are, but we have an amazing team, and we pass all the kids through, serve all the kids at the high school from 10 to 12 minutes. So the kids have plenty of time to eat. And then as just pictures of the lines of the students, but we position ourselves in some point, and then we time out ourselves to see. Of course, in the beginning of the year was until the students find out where they go, what to do. But right now we are 10, 12 minutes that everybody already have lunch. Okay, so we're preparing, even though we're in a pandemic, we're still trying to prepare homemade meals. So we do homemade breakfast burritos. We do ham and cheese croissant sandwich. We prepare the egg, cheese, sausage, English muffins. We do omelets with hash browns. And we also have a variety of cereals, muffins, bagel, yogurt. So plenty of variety for breakfast. And lunch, we have homemade items that we make is lasagna. We have chicken Alfredo, penne pasta marinara. We have a new one that's Tuscan pasta, which is a combination with Alfredo and marinara sauce. Then we prepare over there. We do some items with as a vegetarian, and some of those we put chicken also, so they have both choices. We do nachos, cheese, tacos, enchilada, orange chicken, teriyaki chicken. We have sandwich, so we have salads, we have burgers, a variety of items. And then I just have a few pictures of items that we serve every day. So those some of the hot meals that they put together. Next. And then some of the cold options, we do fresh wraps every morning. And as you can see there, we have items for kids that are vegetarians, so there's no meat in it. So they have choices. There's, again, more salads, more cold items. And this is a little picture of the room, what we call the pause room at the high school. With the kids can come both sides and they enter their numbers. And so the expedite, their room used to do close to 200. Now we are doing almost 250 kids within 10 to 12 minutes.
Wow.
So we are trying to expedite and have as fast as we can so they have enough time to eat and socialize. This year we have 2 grants that we received from the USDA for fruits and vegetables, organic fruits and vegetables. They're 15,000 each, which help us a lot because the food costs increased about 20% since the shortage of supplies. So that's going to help us out. We have challenges with shortage of staff. We are trying to hire as fast as you can the candidates there they qualify, but at times where they find better opportunities, we don't have employment for too many hours because we're busy at lunchtime, not during the entire day. So when people find jobs with more hours, they don't stay with us, but we continue to, looking for candidates every day. We also have a major challenge this year with the supplies. We have a shortage of the paper goods, and we have a shortage with the food supplies. Then to the point like I order, and the day before I receive, I get a list of items that I'm not going to have it, and I have to game change, plan B, C, D, and have another item on the menu, But we always try to make the best we can to have the good choices for our students. One of the no, that's it. Yeah. One of the things I had to do at the high school because we ran out of paper trays to put so the kids can carry. So on the weekend I went and get the plastic sandwich trays to make it work until we did get some supplies on hand. So now we have some emergency supplies for those dates. And so basically our focus this year is that we understand the connection between the healthy students and their ability to learn comes from us is the food. So we need to make sure that we are always there for them, no matter what. So we always will try our best to provide for them what they need. So our mission is able students to establish and maintain lifelong health habits through the food we serve and prepare, support nutrition education and physical activities, create wellness partnerships through our school and communities. So we are always here for our students no matter what. So that's what we're here for. And if anybody have any questions?
I just want to give you a round of applause. You are a forward-thinking woman, and you're able to pinch hit when things are not going your way. And I so appreciate that that you're flexible like that and working with so many kids. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions? No? All right, everybody have a good evening, and thank you for having me here.
You too.
Goodbye.
I wasn't even on mic, sorry. I have Alice Wells from Liberty High School. She's going to share information about the school, things that are going on.
So, good evening, President Zeta, Superintendent Dr. Young, and fellow trustees and cabinet members. Like you said, my name is Alice, and I'm with Liberty. And recently, Liberty has partnered with the Solano Food Bank and will be having a canned food drive. We have a barrel delivered earlier this week, and we hope to fill it by the holidays. If anyone would like to drop off any non-perishable or canned foods, we would gladly take your donation. We are excited to announce we have our first early graduate. We're proud of Angel, and we wish him the very best. Yesterday, many students met with Sustainable Solano. Sustainable Solano is a grassroots organization that promotes the creation of sustainable, regenerative gardens and spaces. I think they made one on First Street. We appreciate their partnership and we hope to get Liberty students involved in their program. We want to give a shout out to our mentors. They have been working with many of our Liberty students and we appreciate their support. They have been a great addition to our campus. Lastly, we would like to congratulate Mr. Pound's advisory class. They won the overall October advisory competition. Liberty, the Eagle, will now reside in the classroom till next month's competition because I suck at Jenga. So, thank you. Have a good night.
Oh, that was a great report. Thank you for all that. Next, I have Allie Ballinger. Is it Allie, or are you Marie?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't.
Okay.
Anyway, it's Marie Marcus, who's the ASB Vice President over at the high school.
Right, well, I am Marie Marcus. And so last week at the high school, we had our Red Ribbon Week. So I wanted to say thank you to the Friday Night Live Club for hosting our lunch game on Thursday. And then on Friday, we had our annual Halloween costume competition. And many students walked away with a new class shirt or
Oh.
spirit wear. And then our staff team that won was the English department, and they dressed up as Inside Out characters. And then upcoming, so this week we've been holding the intramural volleyball signups. And so we wanted to hold the signups all week, but we have already reached the maximum number of teams, which is
Oh.
16 teams.
Wow.
So starting November 15th, that's next Monday, we will be having our tournament during the lunch. And then tomorrow is senior night for the football team, and the student section will be class colors. So freshmen will be wearing black, sophomores will be wearing white, juniors will be wearing blue, and seniors will be wearing gold. And then lastly, so the fall sports have kind of come to an end. So a lot of the winter sports have been holding their tryouts this week. And I think Monday is the projected, the official start date for the new sports.
Okay, thank you for that wonderful report. We always appreciate you guys being here and sharing with us so that I know I'm going to get some non-perishables and run them over to Liberty. So yes, you're welcome. So you guys are welcome to head off and do your homework and get your life in order, whatever you're doing. So thank you so much for being here. Of course. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item, which is the superintendent's report. So
Very
Dr.
good.
Young.
Thank you. Good evening, board. Good evening, everybody who's have an opportunity to join us tonight, and folks that are watching. Just quickly from me, just want to continue to thank everybody, all of the employees in the district, as we continue to work hard on behalf of all the kids. I know this continues to be a challenging time in school districts for sure. And so I know we have a very dedicated staff that commits to kids every day. So from your superintendent of the board, certainly we want you to know how much we appreciate that. And we continue to manage the COVID cases. We continue to manage that. And unfortunately, in Solano County, it looks like we're a little bit ahead of the surge. But we're cautioned from the Solano County Health Director, Dr. Matias, thinking about heading into November and into the winter months to be mindful of that. So we'd like to keep where we are right now with it. So I'd like to thank everybody's work around that. And the other thing I wanted to point out very quickly is we had the meeting, I think it was either this week or last week, with Benicia Reads. And it's an effort that was, Dr. Beatson and I started talking about it. She took this fabulous lead on it. And it's a partnership with the city, and we're re-engaging that partnership and cultivating this effort around literacy for our kids within the community. So we had nice representation there from the city and the district, and we'll keep putting information out on that. So I think that's a very exciting effort for the school district and the partnership with the city. So that's it from you, Superintendent, tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the update. I'm looking forward to the READ program getting back to what we thought it would be. So that's awesome. Thank you. Now we have board reports, so do any of my colleagues have anything to share? No? You can, Diane, of course.
Okay. I attended the district curriculum committee the other night. Actually, Mrs. Zeta was online with me as well. So just a couple of quick highlights, and then if she has anything she'd like to add, feel free. So we talked about some upcoming professional development dates for the district staff and district office, and which also we can be invited to participate in. We also talked about a curriculum matrix, looking at where the adopted materials fall along with the supplemental materials. And we also had a lengthy discussion about support for new teacher training and what that could look like, and moving forward, what that will look like. So I am assuming that's probably happening in her groups right now, and we'll probably get a follow-up at some point. So I don't know, Sherry, that's all I have.
You got it, all of it. It's good. Thank you. And I thank Stephanie Rice for putting that together and bringing us all together to hear what they have to share. So thank you for that. The next item up is comments from members of the public. And I have a stack here, so must be a lot of you guys in the audience that want to talk. So I welcome Robert Johnson up to the podium, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I read one thing before you start talking? Please stand, though. This is a mouthful. BUSD has moved to in-person board meetings. We ask that members of the public who wish to attend, including those who wish to address the board, wear a mask at all times. All functions of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within any item you wish to speak, to submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call an open session public comments not on the agenda during, God bless you, during the public comment item. Comments for items on the agenda will be called during the specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit a total time of people speaking to a total of 20 minutes. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment periods, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. Please be reminded to keep your comments respectful, as there could be students watching. So I thank you for following those rules. I just had somebody drop another one off for me, but I think we're good. Robert, it's nice to have you. Thank you.
Sure. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm a 40-year Benicia resident. Raised 3 daughters here already, and I have some questions about the school district. What specifically has Benicia Unified School District tasked EPOC to do for the district for the school year with regards to building equity for students of color? And to kind of drill down on that a little bit, just wanted to emphasize what specific programs beyond training will be implemented this school year. And secondly, what practices are being adopted with regards to hiring diverse staff? And we all know that's, well, for most of us, that's an urgent issue. And I will await your answers, and I understand that won't be today.
Yes, I'm sorry, we're not able to do that.
No, but the question was sent to you as
yes,
well. So.
Yes, I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
All right, I'm going to be calling up Kashana Harmon Lee. If you would like to come up to the podium. Okay, so what's the other? Yeah, I switched them. Look at that. So easy, magician. Okay, so it's Janie Veronica Lewis.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm here sort of with this group of interesting people and people that I know well. And I'm also here to address just some concerns and thoughts I have on some of the curriculum matters going on in the district. I know that the State Department of Education and many districts in the state now have really committed their funds and committed some funds and emphasis this year on social emotional learning, which I think is a wonderful thing to be doing. And a lot of that has impacts from COVID and it's an important curriculum piece that we all need to be having. And I think I applaud the district for continuing to do that too. I'd also like to make the point, however, that the social emotional learning and equity-based practices in many ways intersect with each other and I think are part of two parts of a bigger whole. So I'm hoping that the district will find the way to combine the efforts they're making in social emotional learning with equity-based curriculum that needs to be happening as well. We know from the statistics on COVID that many segments of the population were negatively impacted. We've all been impacted in some way or another, but some parts of the population more severely than others. And I think in particular, we know that Black and brown families have felt worse outcomes because of the pandemic than others. So my questions tonight with this in mind are, has the district looked at how COVID and its impacts have disproportionately impacted Black and brown students here? What specifically are you doing to focus on equity and social emotional learning for Black and brown students? And what supports are the district giving for teachers in delivering that kind of curriculum and that kind of program? So I think in closing, I just want to urge the board members to be absolutely clear with district leadership and leadership yourselves too, that the money that we're spending on social emotional learning, which I know is being funded through the State Department of Ed, also needs to include equity-based programs and practices that we all know need to be taught as well. And my big concern is that this be done in a timely way. I know we have a lot of good training, a lot of good services from EPOC that are coming to the district, but workshops and forums and training and discussions are all good, but they only are good if they translate into action. And I feel strongly that we can't take several years learning about the problem. We know what the problem is with equity in schools. And I would urge you as a district leadership group to make those practices change now and not later. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I'm going to just make a little announcement that we do need to keep our masks on, and I didn't no problem. I just want to remind you. Our next person up is Kashana Harmon Lee. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Kashana Lee. I've been a resident of Benicia for over 13 years and have had 5 children attend schools in BUSD. As an active parent and hands-on parent, I have had the honor of being a listening ear to my children as well as their friends. Sadly, many times this was after they had experienced RTS, which is racial traumatic stress, on a BUSD campus. Black and brown students have been and are repeatedly traumatized year in and year out by racially and traumatic incidents brought on by peers, and sometimes, whether it is intentional or not, by staff. What dedicated social emotional learning programs do you have or have planned to address this problem? Also, have you made specific initiatives to recruit, hire, and train Black and brown professionals with SEL funds? I've emailed my questions as well to the board members, and I eagerly anticipate your response. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you so much. All right, our next person is it Sean Henderson? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean Henderson. I am a parent of a middle schooler and a recent BHS graduate. I'm also strongly invested in our community school system, and I want to say I'm grateful for and encouraged by BUSD's recent embarking on equity and opportunity initiatives. I've watched Dr. Beatson's board meeting presentations, and I was also a participant at the recent community forum with EPIC consultant Dr. Erica Brown. This improvement in transparency makes me really happy as a parent, but I have to say the forum was a disappointment. Besides Dr. Beatson's presentation on the reasons why BUSD is embarking on equity work, I found the rest of the forum lacking substance, and it left me with a lot of questions. I'd really like to know more about how BUSD will use EPIC education to create a more inclusive and equitable educational system for our students. My questions today center around what BUSD expects from staff in regards to EPIC training. One, what specifically will the district do to support teachers to ensure that they benefit fully from EPIC training? Two, how will the district evaluate if administrators and teachers are using new equitable and inclusive practices per their training? And lastly, what steps will the district take to ensure that teachers will adhere to EPIC's consulting? And what actions will they take if teachers are not compliant? Like everyone else, I will email you my questions for your convenience, and I greatly appreciate your response and eagerly await it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing. Next up is Laura Cohen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Cohen. I'm a parent of two children who go to Robert Semple, a fourth grader and a first grader, and I am an active member in the school community as well. First off, I would like to continue to recognize the intentional work that the district has put into place surrounding equity and opportunity for all of our students and their families. I would especially like to express my gratitude to our district leadership team and to all the teachers and staff members who have made a commitment to attend anti-bias training, and for those of you who actively seek to attend ongoing training on your own time, as you know that anti-bias training is not a one-on-one course, but it is a lifelong training that requires consistency and dedication over the course of time, not sessions. Thank you to those teachers who are learning how to engage our children in conversations around equity and inclusion, and who are actively teaching truth in their educational practices each day by utilizing books, materials, and narratives that represent different cultures and different lenses and different life experiences. The path forward sounds very promising, as our district leadership team has recently hired EPIC, a team of consultants who specialize in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion training. My question is, what metrics are being used to gauge how effective EPIC training is? For example, will you seek to see how EPIC training affects the equitably disciplinary and referral rate of Black and Brown students? How will you evaluate if staff are using their training in their teaching practices and their interactions with their students in their everyday life? I personally was able to attend the EPIC Community Forum last month, along with many other parents and district personnel. I feel that these kinds of forums can be very effective and can be a powerful tool for change if there is a safe space of trust built between the district and the community, if there is consistency with how often these important dialogues are happening, and if the community feels that the input that is provided in these forums can truly be heard and therefore transitioned into action items that lead to real systems change, real practice changes. What is the measurement system you are utilizing to collect your data on these actual changes? I would also like to inquire about the District Equity Task Force team that has recently been created, which we were informed consists of one teacher and one credentialed staff member per school site. What are the areas of focus within this task force? What are the objectives? Will there be an evaluation of practice and programs? Will there be opportunities to analyze and add materials to ensure we are engaging in culturally relevant practices? Will there be a focus on providing consistent staff development anti-bias trainings? Will the focus be on social emotional health for our students? And is this task force involving input from our parents and from our greater school community? Please be transparent in what this task force is going to achieve and what the measurable objectives look like. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Laura. And next is Andrew Miller.
Hi, my name's Andrew Miller, and I'm the parent of 2 children in the BUSD school district. Math, science, English, and history, not some 1619 Howard's End nonsense. At the last meeting, I again asked you to end your relationship with Epic Education. I told you that I was able to have a one-on-one time with Dr. Brown from Epic Education, and when I asked her to show me how the company that she works for is helping kids improve their performance in the areas of math, science, English, and history, she was unable to do so. She neither told me how they were helping nor pointed me in the direction of some study that showed how their DEI program was helping the kids improve their learning at all. I also asked you board members if you could help demonstrate this to me as well. As of today, I have yet to hear back from any of you. So I went online to try and find something that might show how DEI was helping the kids in their academics, and I found nothing there as well. I did, however, stumble across a study entitled Equity Elementary, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Staff in Public Schools. And while it is too long for me to read in 3 minutes or less, I will give you the highlights and send you a copy of it in its entirety for you to ignore at your leisure, although I hope you do actually look at it. The upshot of the study was this. In a comparison of achievement gaps in districts with and without diversity officers, it was shown that gaps are larger in districts that employed diversity officers. In districts without a diversity officer, the average black student is 1.9 grade levels behind the average white student on standardized test results. In districts with a diversity officer, the achievement gap is half a grade level larger, with the average black student being 2.4 grade levels behind the average white student. Sorry, this is math. The study also concluded that diversity officers may be best understood as political activists who articulate and enforce an ideological orthodoxy within school districts. They help to mobilize and strengthen the political influence of small groups of teachers, parents, and students whose preferences may be at odds with the majority of teachers, parents, and students. The creation of diversity officers tilts the political playing field against efforts to remove the radical ideology of critical race theory from school curricula and practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that seems to be the end of our. Okay, these are on different items specifically. I did not. Don't worry. There is one more general. This one, sorry, Robert Crawley. Apologize. I'm sorry. Came at the last. It was given to me at the end, so sorry.
No worries. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for giving me a chance to speak. My name is Robert Crowley, and I'm a citizen of Benicia. Recently, BUSD hired EPIC to work with the school district to address the lack of diversity and equity for students and staff of color within the school system. I got a couple of questions that I emailed to the board, and I look forward to your response, but I wanted to make sure I said them tonight. So first, what are BUSD's next steps regarding evaluating and adopting a new curriculum that teaches the true facts as it pertains to all students with emphasis on people of color? Does EPIC have a curriculum resource that will be utilized by BUSD in the classrooms? Is EPIC tasked to evaluate books and literature used within our curriculum? And then finally, is there a syllabus available to families showing how Common Core standards and frameworks will be met for each grade level? Thank you. I look forward to your response.
Thank you very much. So now I'm actually going to move on to item number 11, our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered by the board to be routine and be approved by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion on these items unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be pulled and discussed. So, do I have approval of the consent calendar as written?
I move that we approve the consent calendar as written.
Second that.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 12. Oh, sorry, gosh.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Moss. Yes. Trustee Ferrucci. Yes. Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Groves.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next item is item 12.1. It's the governing board will provide information on BUSD's district general obligation, the GO bond history, the new GO bond program analysis. And I think, Mr. Rahill, are you going to start off?
Go ahead, Ms. Rahal. Do it up.
Yeah,
Good evening. We have this item for your information tonight. As our district approaches the full expenditure of our locally approved Measure S general obligation bond. That's for school facilities. Our taxpayers in, I believe it was 2014, approved the general obligation bond that we've utilized and built a variety of structures throughout our schools over the last few years. During that process, we also put a facility master plan together, which had, I believe, at that time, about $136 million in projects, which we knew at the time we would not accomplish all of those needs with that local Measure S bond at $49.6 million. So since then, we've also applied to the state, and we're on track to get about $15 million from the state, so that will definitely help. And we got a couple of a zero interest and a low interest loan to do the solar throughout the district. And so as those funds are being used up and we've fully committed out those funds, we thought it was appropriate to start the conversation with you tonight and provide some background information, again, on the history of our school facility bonds and what it entails when a school district wants to consider a new local bond. And so with that introduction, we have our school district's financial advisor with us tonight, John Isom, and he has a presentation that he put together that provides a lot of good information for us.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. It's nice to see you all. Is this working? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there
Okay.
you are.
If I got a little bit closer. Okay. Do I have a clicker? Do you? Okay. Thank you. Good evening. As was introduced, my name is John Isom. I'm with Isom Advisors. We've been the district's financial advisor for the last 6-7 years. Our role in working with school districts is to help districts access dollars for capital improvements, so financing. And there's a number of different ways and different options that exist. But I wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of your history and talk to you a little bit about steps going forward, what the options might be, and to give you some of that background. So let me take you through this first. And just actually, some of you are new faces to me, between COVID and masks. Who is this guy again? So for the last 23 years, I've worked with school districts in the state of California. We're based out of Walnut Creek. We work with a lot of your neighbors, Vacaville, Fairfield, Sassoon, Martinez, a lot of districts in Contra Costa County. In fact, about 200 and some districts throughout the state of California. So we travel up and down the state. And again, for the last 23 years, our role has been to say, hey, this is what you need for facilities. Let us show you how to get that money and then help you get that money and do so at the lowest cost of borrowing. So that's our role as a fiduciary and as a financial advisor. So by way of background. So historically here, I want to bring your attention to some information here. One is that table on the left, which is known as your assessed value. That represents all taxable value located within the boundaries of the district. So the refinery, homes, gas station, restaurants, pieces of dirt, anything that is considered taxable within those boundaries makes up your assessed value. And what you can see is that right now, 21-22, the very last line item, this has a little pointer. Oh, there you go. We're at $6.6 billion. So when you add up all the value, not market value, not what you could sell your house for or property, but what the county assessor has assigned as a value, which usually was what you paid for your property and then a 1 or 2% increase, per year, it all adds up to $6.6 billion. So what that means is that when you apply a bond program to your tax base, you're applying a tax rate. So whatever that tax rate might be, that tax rate when applied to $6.6 billion every year provides revenues, the basis of which are used to repay a debt. So think of a bond just like a home mortgage. You borrow the money up front, the bank gives you the money, you buy your house, and for the next 30 years, you make your mortgage payments. That's what a bond is like. Historically, this community is no stranger to that, and I'm going to draw your attention to, oh, it looks like it disappears once I get to the screen. See how it's there? But the first bullet point, so the district voters back here, 1991, they passed a bond. All those dollars have been spent. And you can see a $22 million bond was passed in 1997. All of those dollars were spent, but there's about 4 or 5 years left on the 1997 program. And then most recently in 2014, about $50 million was authorized. And of course, those were the dollars that Tim was alluding to that you're in the process of spending down and completing those projects. So there's no money left. The tax rate combined for those different tax rates, for those different bonds rather, is about $133.26 per $100,000. So that's the tax that voters have been paying and continue to pay for all of those different bond programs. While it's a technical thing, I do want to draw your attention just to this last bullet point, which is what's known as a gross bonding capacity. Every school district, every municipality actually in the state of California has what's called a debt limit or a bonding capacity. And it's simply a formula. In this case, it's 2.5% of your total assessed value for the year, which in this case is $6.6 billion. From that, you subtract out what you already have borrowed, and that gives you your net debt limit. And what that simply means, in this case, your net debt limit is $114 million, $114.5 million. And what that simply means is if your voters gave you a blank check and said, we don't care what the tax rate is, you can do another $100 tax rate, that's fine. You would be limited to that $114.5 million because that is what is known as your debt limit. Now, every year your tax base grows, so that number grows. And every year we also pay down debt, so that number also grows. So there's two things that will continue to increase your debt limit. And interestingly enough, even those districts that are up against their debt limit, you can go get a waiver from the state. There's been about 60 requests, and all 60 of them have been granted. So the 2.5% really is kind of an arbitrary figure. And again, that's probably more than you wanted to know. I'll go through these other slides much faster. Okay. Next slide. So, new GO bond program. What would a new general obligation bond program possibly generate? And we're going to talk about, what that possibly means. So on the left-hand side of this table, you see different tax rates, $45, $50, $60. Doesn't mean that's what you get. That just means that's probably about the most you would get if you did a new tax rate. Why? If you did a new election with a new tax rate under Prop 39 law, you are capped at $60. $60 per $100,000 of assessed value. What does that mean? That means if you own that piece of dirt and you've owned it forever, $10,000 worth of dirt, and the tax rate is $60 per $100,000, how much would you pay? $6 a year. If your home's assessed at $100,000, for those that have a home that's assessed at $100,000, you've probably lived in it for about 40 years. My mom lives in Danville since 1974, and her home's worth a lot more, but it's assessed at about $211,000. So she pays nothing in taxes compared to what the value is. And there are people that have lived in their homes for a long time and thus would have that similar. So if you have a $100,000 piece of property, you're paying about $5 a month. If you have a $1 million piece of property, now you're paying about $50 a month. It's the same tax collection methodology that the county uses, right? The county, we all pay 1%. If you're a property owner, you pay 1% to the county based on your assessed value. This would be, 1.06% if in fact you use the $60. So big picture, 115 million, which is now on the far right-hand side. So pretty much at or below, or just, it would be below by the time you sold all the bonds, your bonding capacity. So when I talk to the district and I say, Tim, Charles, understand you may have $300 million worth of value, but that's not even in the realm of possibility. So just like anyone who wants to do a home renovation, you look at your budget and you say, this is kind of what I think we might be able to afford. But let's see how the Christmas bonus works out, see if I get a raise, et cetera. That's where we're here, is our max budget is about $115 million. However, and this is, I think, kind of one of the more exciting things, there's a second approach that we looked at called a tax rate extension. Remember how I said the 1991 bonds are all gone, and the 1997 bonds will soon be gone. What happens is that means our tax rate is going to go down. However, we could go to the voters and ask them, hey, voters, what if we just keep paying the tax rate that we've been paying all these years? We're not going to increase the taxes, but instead of letting the tax rate go away, maybe we could just keep paying it. So in this scenario, that what ultimately calculates as a $59.40 tax rate could generate upwards of $122 million. Now you might say, well, wait a minute, the last slide you just showed me $115 million. This one's supposedly a lower tax rate. In this model, we took out the last series until 2030. Doesn't mean we have to. We could chop off $22 million and get you $99 million, okay? But the point is that there's tremendous potential just by extending a program that clearly Benicia voters have been okay financially paying over the last 20 years. A little bit more detail on that. I hesitate to even, I'm sorry to all those that are looking at the screen. It's so tiny. But I will make an effort. So this column represents the 1997 election. It goes away in 2025-26, okay? And so that tax rate goes away with it. This column represents the 2014 obligations, which will go away in 2039. That's too far out to even worry about. But what we could do is we could go to the voters and say, hey, voters, instead of having, that tax essentially go away, let's keep paying on it with one caveat. Remember how the maximum tax rate can only be $60? That's the most that we can ask, even though the 1997 tax rate is much higher than $60. And you can see that here. So what would ultimately happen, if you go to the far right here, is that the tax rate on the new bond would be about $59.40, and our combined tax rate, far right column, everyone even in the audience should be able to see, we go from 3 digits to 2. So even by extending the tax rate, we can have ultimately a reduction in tax rate from $130 or so down to what appears to be in the $80 range. So a lot of detail, but hopefully I was able to kind of capture that for you. But I think this is a really exciting option, especially one that's mindful of, where we are. I don't know that a lot of people want to pay more in taxes, but here's a situation where we actually get to say, you'll be paying actually less than what you've been paying, and we get to deliver all of these great school facilities that we need and that we're asking for. So these bond programs do require going to the voters. Very quickly, on your voters, you have about 20,000 registered voters here. Majority of them are Democrats. Here's kind of a breakdown of political party. Here's a breakdown of age. What's really important here is just simply this. You have more voters that don't have kids than do. So we can't just say, hey, as long as the parents of the kids are happy, we can pass. No, we've got to make our case to our senior citizens, to our single, audience that don't have kids yet, to those that have just sent their kids off to college, right? So we have our work cut out for us from the simple point of view that we need to explain something that they would see a benefit for them. Because they're not going to see necessarily the direct my children benefits, but they'll see it with property values. They'll see it in community safety. They'll see it in an overall better quality of life that good quality schools bring. But you can't just rely on parents here. Turnout's important, and I'll tell you why. This is your district, and this one's actually quite fascinating. This is your district, and you can see historical turnout going all the way back to November of 2008. And you can see, of course, everybody votes for president. A lot of people vote for governor, and the primaries, not a lot of people turn out. Why is this relevant to you? The next 2 chances for your district is June and November of 2022. Gubernatorial primary where we're picking the two horses between the Democrats and Republicans, and then the gubernatorial general, which is who do we want as governor? Look at your 2018. Your turnout for primary, 40%. Your turnout for the gubernatorial general, 64%. The question simply is, and our job is to help you figure this out, can we win with a low turnout when only 39% of the voters show up? Do I need the extra 25% of lower propensity voters that kind of only show up for president or governor? Do I need them in order to be victorious, or can I win either way? Right? I think this district, the last 2014 success was in a primary. So we know we've got some track record and some history there, but that was also 7 years ago. So there would be some some efforts to determine what do we do from here. And that brings me to this. This is the timeline to say, if you went in June, what would we need to do? And then also, as I mentioned, we can go in November. So where does it start? It starts with your master plan, which the district has been ongoing. You have a pretty good handle of how and what projects you need and how much it costs. Then you get to this kind of, right? This is, as a board, do we want to explore the feasibility of a program? And simply the question is, do I have the needs? And am I willing to ask the community, not do a bond election or anything, but am I willing to ask the community, do some surveying and some talking to the community members to see if they're willing to support us? And maybe it's, yeah, I'm willing to support you with a brand new tax. Or maybe it's, no, I don't want to do a brand new tax, but I like the tax rate extension idea. Maybe it's, I'll support you for all the projects, except I really don't want to spend any money on swimming pools, performing arts centers, et cetera, et cetera. So the question is do we want to explore that? And that ultimately is for you as the board to decide. So what does explore even mean? A couple of things. One, a survey of registered voters, telephone survey, random sample. This is where you get data, statistics, numbers. And we can come back to you and say, hey, good news, 70% of the voters like the idea of a tax rate extension. Bad news, they don't want to pay for the swimming pool. Again, I don't even know if that's on the list. Or good news, they want to pay for all of the projects, but bad news, there's some major tax sensitivities and they're only willing to do it at $30. So cut your project list from 115 million to 60, right? That's the data that you get back from the survey. So think of that as quantitative assessment. And then this public information program, qualitative assessment. Can't put a number on it, but yeah, did I talk to the Chamber of Commerce, ask them, hey, what do you guys think of this? Yeah, businesses are supportive of it. Okay, good. Do we talk to the refinery? Like last time we went in, sat down in front of them, put it out, our cards on the table. What do you guys think? Hey, mayor, city council member. These are the kinds of conversations that we need to have to find out if we've got, support among some of the key stakeholders, because they'll sway, opinion one way or another. So we want to make sure that we've got their support as well. When you do both of those, quantitative, qualitative, and they both look good, ultimately what that helps us do is create a program that your voters are willing to support. So this isn't John Isom's idea. This isn't Charles's idea. This isn't the board's idea. This is really the community's idea. It's your schools, it's your taxes. You should have a major say in it. And that's what we want to do, is take all that information and create a program that we can give back to the community. And then the campaign committee's job just got a lot easier because they don't have to convince people of it. They don't have to say, hey, listen to this great idea I have. Really, it is, let me tell you what you already told me that you want. This is what Measure B is all about. And those are the programs that have been very successful in our experience. So all of this stuff, fast timeline, all of this stuff would be a January, February, you'd have to make a decision by March. So if you're sitting in there and you're saying, all right, when do we really need to decide? First week in March, the resolution calling the election would need to be submitted. What happens if the survey doesn't come back well? I will be here and I will be telling you, I don't recommend we go in June. We should reset for November. And here's why. Not my opinion, but here's the data, and this is why we're suggesting November. Or, I don't think we can pass it in June or November. I suggest we reset to 2024. That's what no one wants to hear, but you should be prepared to hear it. So ultimately, again, we only go if our voters want us to go and if they're willing to support us. But kind of in the orange there, that's the deadline, right? March of 2022, first week for a June 7th election. If it's November, that deadline becomes August, the first week in August. What it is it's 88 days before election day, basically 3 months back from that day. So all this stuff up here is, can we get this stuff done between now and March? And if it all looks good, then June could make a lot of sense. There are other factors that I may not be aware of, so that's why we have these dialogues and these discussions that might say, June, forget it, but let's open our minds to a potential November. So a lot of information. That concludes the presentation. I'm happy to take, any questions that you guys may have. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isom, for sharing this very elaborate information with all these numbers. I do feel that we have some questions from our board that they would like to ask. I'm wavering on this whole thing because extra taxes on people, especially when our community is so much more mature than having young folks. And really, we want to start getting young families in here and doing that. But at this time, there's not that big of a percentage of the younger parents that would be taxed. But I'm going to stop here and just let my colleagues talk.
Can I add a few things?
Sure.
Thank you so much for this great information. I thought of a couple other things that might
Sure.
be helpful as we're digesting all of this important information. And so again, here we are in November, and this is the first time we're really kind of bringing this back to the school board. So it's a lot of information. There's a lot of numbers on the page, but it's our first step to start that conversation. And we're just reminded that last time we did this back before 2014, we had our district facility committee, which is made up of staff from all the different sites and departments. And we put together our school district facility master plan. And so again, I referred to the $136 million in school projects that was identified, 7 years ago or so. And so it's our intent that, while if this proceeds, that, we would get the facility committee back, we take a look at where we're at, what we've done, what's left to be done, and make any modifications. It's very safe to say there is probably, I'll just really roughly based on this older plan, at least $70 or $80 million left in projects that have been identified here. Now that'll change a little bit after we go back through the committee. And we're just kind of reminded some in this first local bond that we passed and the projects we've been working on. It's kind of, a lot of it's been behind the scene. There's definitely been stuff that the community has seen, especially at the middle school. And what you will see next is at Mary Farmer Elementary, probably some stuff at the high school too with painting. But we did, early on, we did playgrounds at all the elementary schools. We did some roofing at Farmer and the middle school, tech rooms. We did fire alarms, which are extremely expensive, and they are operable and modern and current, but nobody really sees that. They just expect that, and they should. But they were very dated, on the verge of being non-workable and non-fixable. So we really caught that in the nick of time. At the high school, we did the all-weather track and field and stadium. We've also done some painting there, seismic work, earthquake proofing at Benicia Middle School has started, which we have to bring that up to code whenever you touch buildings. They make you upgrade to the seismic work. So that's, we're in that project right now. We did district-wide new clocks and bells, new phones, new surveillance. So that, again, it's a lot of backbone stuff. So really quickly and very summarize what's left to be done in the master plan is pretty much the classroom modernization at all of the school sites. There's some older wings, there's portable wings that need to be replaced. The master plan talked about library and library enhancements at the schools, including at some of the schools creating some specialty classrooms like music room, art room. Our schools do have those now, but they're basically just in many cases, a regular classroom that's been slightly modified to accommodate that. Some are better than others. Parking, asphalt, additional playgrounds, possibly science classrooms, something like at the high school with the performing arts building and the band program, the dance hall. And then classroom modernization in general. And so I just want to share that just to kind of bring a little bit of the, what does it mean and what would we be doing? Just kind of reminding us what we've done and what's left to be done. And I think knowing that that the local community has stepped up with the Measure S fund and the district's done its job at going after other funds at the state with our bond director, Miss Egan, and at this point, at least $15 million coming in from the state of California is pretty amazing to be able to contribute that to our facility project needs. And what caught my attention earlier with Mr. Isom's presentation is he mentioned June 2022 or November 2022. So we're just kind of reminded a school district in California can only ask and only put something out to vote on an even number year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Even numbered. So if we don't do it in 2022, we'd have to wait till 2024. So I think with that, I'll pause and then let you guys ask your questions.
Thank you so much. Okay, go for it.
Go for it. Well, thanks, Tim, for the clarification. We have done amazing things with the bond money. I think that we've had. We have been very prudent in our expenditures, and I think the improvements have been, absolutely amazing for our kids. They have absolutely been a good thing. I agree with Sherry, though. That has one of the things when I was reading this board item last night. My concern is for the makeup of the community. We have a lot of retirees in our community that function on a fixed income, and that is a concern. And I think we need to put it out there and at least it's a big concern for mine. So I think it's a part of our reality, and we need to think about it. I'm also concerned about timing. We are coming out of COVID, and there's been a large impact on our citizens as well as a lot of our businesses in town. So the idea of dancing with another tax, to me, I'm not feeling really solid. And with that said, I think some of the things, and I don't know if it's you, John, or Tim, who's going to need to give us some more information, but I think as this starts to hit the community, we need to have a real understanding, and I need to feel really solid regarding the dollars, what's left on any of the existing bonds, what is securing this bond money. And John, you mentioned one of my questions already, because I'm like, why I'm looking at the tax impacts. And it's like, why is 97 so expensive? And you were showing that it's going to be less if we extend it. So whatever that rate happens to be, that's causing such a huge hit on people's taxes. So, I mean, part of those questions, I think you're going to need to help us, John, Tim, so that we're really comfortable. So as we talk about this to people, when people question us, I don't think in response of, I'm not really sure it's going to fly really well. And I don't want to be in that position either. So those are my questions. And I know my colleagues have questions as well, because we all talked about not feeling really solid.
Yeah, and I'm glad you raised that. And I think that's why the exploration is so relevant and so important. You didn't hear me say, let's put something on the ballot, right? Because first and foremost, you may or may not know this about us and how we're compensated and how we get paid. We're on a contingent basis. No win, no pay. So I will be the first person to say your community will not pass the measure. But that's why you do things like the survey, to get a real good sense. Are people worried about COVID? I'm worried about COVID. March of 2020 was a bad day for school bonds. November of 2020 kind of went back a little bit to the mean. We had 80% success in November of 2020. So I think for me, it was like, oh, for some districts, the water's fine. For some, okay? But that's why we go through this process. So we've already begun doing surveys. We've done surveys in Del Norte County, San Bruno, currently doing one for Fairfield Sassoon. Vacaville is also going to be quickly following and doing a survey of their own. They are in that exploration process. I may have to say at each of these board meetings, you can't pass. And maybe we can not blame, but maybe you can't pass because the senior citizens are concerned. Maybe the senior citizens are our biggest fan, right? I mean, we just assume, oh, a parent's going to vote for it and grandparents shouldn't, but grandparents do. My mom votes for every single bond, and believe me, all of her kids are gone. So that's what the survey gets us. The survey tells us demographically, ethnically, political party, propensity to vote. Remember the 39% versus 67? It tells us all of that stuff, and it gives us valuable data. And in addition, Charles, Tim, you guys may be having conversations with those movers and shakers. Because I could bring you a survey and say, hey, good news, 60% of the voters say they would support it, let's go. But if you came back and said, yeah, but the chamber's against it, city council's against it, teachers union's against it, then I would say, okay, we don't go, okay? But we should consider exploring, because the benefit to not, and I gave you all the information just to give you all the information, but in my experience, the tax rate extension, the no tax rate increase is really what we should just be talking to your community about. Are you interested in a no tax rate increase when the 1997 goes away? Instead of it going to zero, let's just bring it from $100 to $59. So you're going to be paying less, okay? But we're also going to get all these great facilities and improved classrooms and upgraded infrastructure. But we have to do that exploration in order to come back with a recommendation one way or the other. But yeah, I should have said that at the beginning. My financial loyalties, if you will, are aligned with yours, which is none of us want to go unless we know for certain that our community really wants this. And if the community doesn't want it, then we don't go. And we reset to 2022 November or 2024 or never. I mean, there are certain communities, but most communities that have done a good job on their bonds, those voters tend to reward them and say, hey, yeah, I love the new stadium. I love the roofing. I love the new alarms that no one sees. And you're telling me this isn't going to increase my taxes? Yeah, that's not. Oh, okay. And we're going to get all these new projects? Yeah. Those are a program that I think has potential here. No promises, but I think, and is worth at least exploring. So great questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Isom. I just wanted to ask a clarifying question, and that is, you said that it's a contingency situation, correct? Mm-hmm. So if you're doing all this exploring and surveying, that will cost the district nothing?
Correct. So it's a terrible business model if you're not good at winning these programs and providing the right advice. But when we're successful 90% of the time or more, then it works for us. And so we're like, yeah, I know a lot of districts don't want to spend a bunch of money if they don't think it's going to happen. So we say, don't worry about it. We know tax rate extensions are very popular. We know the Benicia community. I've walked your streets. I know the voters. I know how supportive they are of education. I also know there's senior citizens on fixed incomes, but there's ways that we can talk to those people as well. So we're confident enough that our approach and your community that's been responsive and supportive in the past may be supportive again. But again, I'm not saying let's do a resolution next week. I'm saying let's spend the next couple of months, few months, 6 months, figuring out if now is a good time for Benicia. And it may be right and it may not. I mean, that's the beauty of the survey is I can put my personal biases aside and say, let's trust the numbers. You can put your personal biases aside and say, let's trust the numbers. It's a tried and true process that we stake our business on. So.
Thank you. I have to say that I am in agreement with Mrs. Ferrucci and President Seda. I think we need a lot more information to go forward. So, but I thank you for that clarification.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you bet. You bet.
Thank you. And anybody else, anything? Yeah, I think we do need some more information, like where that money is specifically going to be spent. And if it's wise, I mean, I worry about our district because our district now, the population of students that we have is going down. We're having less people in our district, and yet we want to put in all these beautiful things, which are wonderful, don't get me wrong, but also is that the right time to be doing that? And that money has to be spent on facility, correct? It has to be spent on rooms and that kind of thing. It can't be teachers in their classrooms and all that. So it just seems like a lot of money. But again, I'm open-minded, and at this point, we were not voting on anything. It's just an informational thing. And I really appreciate your hard work putting this together for us, and we'll have to give it some thought and have you back.
You bet.
So I really do. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah,
I just
my
have,
pleasure.
Mrs. Beta, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry.
Looks like we have another question.
Oh, yes.
This probably needs to go to Mr. Rahill. I would like to know, within the bond structure, within the general obligation bond that we're considering, what would the priorities be? I'd really like to see that specifically with an estimate. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Real quick, just asking for board direction. What, going forward, just how would you direct us? Do you want, so we have a couple of board meetings in December. You and I could get together and plan the agenda, but would you like to, is your direction for us to come back in December with, more details about items and expenditure, their costs, et cetera? Just
In-house, like in-house stuff, not so much on getting hopefully the bond, but on what it will be used for. I think that's what we're all kind of wanting to know.
All right, so maybe is board direction, your superintendent, bring back more the information along these question lines at the December meeting, so we can continue to inform ourselves to see if we want to go forward and explore it, as Mr. Isom has talked about.
And I think.
All right, go ahead.
Actually, one of the things I was going to request as well, Dr. Young, is I am sure everybody has gotten the email from the city of Benicia this week. They are on their last leg of approval for, I forget the whole name of it, Gateway. Yes, which is their additional development in the city of Benicia. I am going to assume, and I know it's not good to assume, that it means it would be a change of population for us. It would also mean additional children, which I also believe will impact our facilities. I don't know if we've had any conversations with the city yet to inform us of any of the impact of that project development, but it seems like that would also be a piece of information as we move forward in this discussion that we would need to also have as well, so that we're really having an informed discussion and not turning around in November and going, oh, we didn't know about this. I don't think that would be wise on our part at all, so.
So will the city be also requesting a bond or raise in taxes and our property taxes?
You know,
I mean, because there's this, do you know? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, but I can ask.
because that would be another consideration.
Correct.
Those are great points, guys. Great,
So-
great minds are working together. That's awesome. Thank you, and thank you.
Mr.
And
Eisen.
Mr. Rahal, thank you.
Anything else, Tim? No, good.
All right, we're going to be moving on to our next item, which is also a discussion item. But before I start this, it's actually, it states on the agenda, BUSD district paid benefits and increase to school board stipend for school board members. And I'm the one that brought this up because I had heard other districts do this. And I didn't think, until I heard from several people, they kind of jogged my mind a little bit to rethink this, this ask of the board. So what I'd like to do for it when it comes back in December, correct? That we just talk about the stipend and that 5% that it can be increased, and have that be an annual thing for this board going forward, that it should be increased by the maximum, which is a very little percentage of 5%, which brings us to like from 240 to 250 or something. It's not very, 252? Yeah, it's not very much. So I know, Sue Wing, that you were going to talk on this topic, but I hope that helps you. You're welcome to talk, but I really am going to pull that part altogether, and we don't need to. I'd rather see that money. When I looked at the numbers that this district would have to spend on 5 people if we all chose to do it, the numbers were astronomical. I still can't understand completely how it's that much money. But personally, and I think my colleagues would agree, that I'd like to see money go back into the classroom and spent in the classroom for the students and for the, with the teachers in mind. And that's where I'd rather see, thinking about it now, it's like, that's our purpose, that we want to make sure that everything is done correctly, and that I will remove that part. So Sue, did you want to say anything? No? I'm sorry you sat through the whole meeting. Okay, please. Sue Wing.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I really appreciate it. What I do want to say is something that I said in my email, and I'd like to speak it so you can actually hear. I believe that you all know how much I support our school board. This was something that resonated with me. Of course, when you send an email and you hit send, you think, oh, I should have said this, right? So I do appreciate this, but you all know how much I support our school board and all of you. And I also know the time it takes to be an effective school board member. And I've seen some of you on your own time coming to BMS. I also know that you're going to school events and seminars, etc. And every year has challenges like layoffs or COVID, but it's part of your school board package, unfortunately, that you have to deal with. I am very grateful that you've pulled this because, after talking, even our less than 35-hour-a-week employees are paying about $250 a month for 11 months for benefits right now. So I do thank you very much. I also want to say that I do fully support the increase in stipend. I know that it's a very long time in coming. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Wing. All right, so I guess we just talk about the stipend to the school board. Does anybody have any comments or anything related to the increase of 5% per year? We're not voting on it today. We are going to be voting on it next in 2 meetings. So if anybody has anything to say, please share your thoughts.
I just want to say thank you for pulling it. I was very uncomfortable when I saw the extra dollar amount, and so it was something that was making me very uncomfortable. So I appreciate, Mrs. Zeta, that you did that. So thank you.
You know, I was just trying to make it a better system-wide, so that it was for equality, but it doesn't mean it has to happen. And when I saw those dollar amounts, it just like snapped. That was not a good thing. So I mean, I'm the one that put it on there, so I take the blame, but I'm also the one taking it off. So
In a place game, but
So-
I just think it was. I think it's just. I think the end action of dropping it, I think, is the thing that's important. And I just wanted to say thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Did anybody have anything to say regarding the 5%? Okay, we're good. We're going to close out that section and move on to the next one then. Thank you. Whew. The next item that we're talking about are non-consent action items. 13.1, consideration and approval of resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of the 2021 general obligation refunding bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $9 million to refinance outstanding bonds of the district and approving related documents and actions. I think, Mr. Rahill, you're going to speak on this for us. Thank you.
Good evening. Yes, we have this item tonight for your consideration and your action. We'll also ask Mr. Isom to share a few thoughts as well. And so what this one does, this resolution, is from time to time, a school district can consider refunding or refinancing its bonds if it can get a better interest rate. Very similar like folks do with a home mortgage. When you can refinance and get a lower interest rate, it would make financial sense to do so. And so here we are, and there are some current conditions in the school bond market which might make us pause right now. What this resolution does tonight is it authorizes the district to proceed if there are interest savings on the refunding. And with that, Mr. Isom, if you'd like to just share a few comments, because just like a home refinance takes time and paperwork, there is more involved with the school bond refunding. And so if you don't have everything set up in advance, you don't have the time to take advantage of the lower interest rates. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Isom now.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Very briefly, and Tim, you pretty much explained everything. So really what this is a preemptive action by the district to take advantages should we find ourselves in a more favorable interest rate than today. So today's interest rate environment would not make sense for you to refund the bonds. However, a month ago, 2 months ago, maybe even 3 months ago, interest rates were low enough that we were making significant savings to your taxpayers. Specifically, this is that Series A bonds from the 2014 election. So we're looking at those interest rates and we're saying interest rates on those are kind of high. I can go find a whole new group of investors who are willing to buy interest rates at a lower rate. And then that difference between the high interest rates and the lower interest rates is what creates the savings. These savings would go directly to taxpayers. They would not be for the district, doesn't go to your general fund. So this is being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. The district has done a number of these over the years. So this is a prudent move for the district to position itself to take advantage if, again, interest rates were to go back down. There's like a yo-yo. Interest rates go up, they go down. This week they've gone up because the Feds had their meeting and they said, oh, we're going to, ease on our monetary policy. We're not going to buy as many bonds that we do. Instead of 160 billion a month, we're going to just buy, 142 billion a month. So still a lot. But again, this is a preemptive move. All costs of issuance associated with it are only if the financing goes through. So again, back to that kind of contingent way that we work. This is something that folks, bond counsel, ourselves, the underwriter are all kind of in a, all right, we're willing to proceed and do some work on your behalf, but none of us are going to pull the trigger, so to speak, unless we know that it's going to be meaningful savings. So candidly, we're in a little bit of a pause. Tomorrow we had a scheduled meeting with the rating agencies to get a credit score for the district, because every district wants a credit score. It allows you to borrow money very cheaply if you have a good credit rating, just like individuals do. But because of where interest rates are, we said, you know what, let's not spend the time or the money at this point. But what this would allow us to do is to jump into the market and get the ratings and possibly get the bond sold between this board meeting and the next board meeting or the next board meeting after that. So it's certainly our recommendation that the district would approve this for that prudent manner. One other thing to point out is, unlike a home mortgage refi, where you reset the clock, this you cannot. By law, we cannot. Has to be the exact same terms. It has to be a true financially efficient money saver for the district, not just a cash flow play like a home mortgage refi is for a lot of people. You genuinely need to save money every year. You don't get to add years to the program, so it's an apples to apples comparison. And the only thing, you know, from our perspective is that we want this to be more financially efficient. Like right now, we could save you $250,000. You think, oh, that's pretty good. It's not very good in this situation. We want to save more. We want 350 or 450 or 500,000. But this would at least give us the green light to keep an eye on things and jump in the market if it did turn in our favor in the coming weeks. So,
and those savings are for the taxpayers, not for the district. It's the interest rates that would save money for the taxpayers.
Okay. Two questions, and John, again, I think you're like in my head, so knock it off. But one of the questions I think was, would it extend the length of time of the bond? So I'm hearing you say no.
Correct.
So this is a 30-year bond, and it'll be done in 30 years, whether we refinance or not.
Correct. In fact, I think I'll tell you exactly how many years are left, but it would not extend. It would not extend those years as you pointed out. So currently, this terminates or would be over in 2039.
Okay.
So we have another 17 years or 18 years on it, and it would also be 2039, but just lower taxes, lower payments.
So, and what's the cost to the district if we do this?
Well, all the costs of issuance are paid out of the bond proceeds, so the cost of the district would be zero.
Okay.
That's the question I was going to ask, is what the cost was and what the difference would be to see the value in it. But any other questions? No? Okay, then. Then I guess at this point, we pardon me?
We need a motion.
Yeah, can I get a motion to accept 13.1 as discussed by John Isom and Tim Rahill with all the information they've gathered? Can I get a first motion?
How about if I make the motion?
Yes.
I was the one making the most questions.
Yes,
tonight,
yes.
so thank you, gentlemen.
Sure.
So I want to move to approve.
Oh, wait 1 second. I have somebody out here, yes. I have this ticket. Lisa Delorfis, would you please join us?
A lot of my questions not solved.
Okay.
But the reason I wanted to speak at the other time was because I also had another thing I wanted to talk about. So my only topic, the only thing I really wanted to talk about with the bond was that I was really concerned with all the blank appendixes, all the blank exhibits. I'm like, how are we going to do this without knowing what interest rate we're paying? And so I actually did some research. My son actually sells bonds for a living, so I talked to him about this, and he said this is totally normal. But usually you have numbers. And so I said, what do we do? So now that I know that you will get the numbers, when you get the numbers, I'm sure you will be alerting the board to the numbers so that all those exhibits and appendixes are there. The other item I wanted to talk about
Is it related to this?
It is not, but you didn't let me talk before, so can I say it?
I only had one ticket for you.
Oh, I didn't know I needed to do separate ones.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to tell you about the classroom environment. I might get emotional here.
It's okay.
Every classroom teacher is struggling to meet the needs of the students, and we aren't feeling supported. We have more people working at the district office than ever, but less support at the schools. I know my principal is working very hard to advocate for my students, but she can't do it alone. I have several students who are so high risk, they don't qualify for a Better Way, which is our district contracted mental health service. I have other students who do qualify, but are on the waiting list. I have so many students struggling, yet I have not met any of the district office employees who are hired to help. Why are they not meeting with teachers and our students? Why are they not regularly on campuses? I'm spending so much time working on supporting my students emotionally, academically, and teaching lost social skills that is simply overwhelming. Your teachers are going to burn out if help is not given. I also want to know why the schools were not given more money for supplies this year. I have spoken to teachers at several sites, and there is less money available to teachers across the district. You were given more money by the state to spend on the students. We need to be able to buy more books, tech support, art supplies, and materials to bring a sense of joy to the students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. Mrs. Ferrucci, you're on with we're going to go back to the 12 or 13.1, and you're going to lead up.
Oh, it's right, okay.
May I make one clarification?
Please.
Yes.
And I'm glad that she raised that point, and I want to explain it just for the record and for those at
Absolutely.
home. I felt like I've been up here for so long. I'm like, all right, just be brief. So what you have in front of you is a resolution that's in its final form. And that means it's perfect. It's exactly what we need to meet the legal requirement. It deputizes your district administrators, your finance advisor, your team to go ahead and get this done on your behalf. That's a singular document that is being approved. In combination, and part of that resolution are a number of other legal documents that have a lot of blanks. And that was what was raised. Hey, there's a bunch of blanks. Why? The reason that there are blanks is that these figures or these blanks will not be completed until the final pricing is done. And think in your minds, if there's 17 years of maturities, we need to know the dollar amount, the coupon, the interest rate to the penny, what's called a QSIP number, the total cost of issuance to the penny. All of those figures don't get finalized until the pricing. And so what this resolution says, in addition to deputizing folks, it also says the other documents, they're 95% complete. So we agree with the framework, we agree with the structure, we agree with the parameters, and we understand that those blanks will not be complete until the time of the pricing. So that's why you're only adopting the resolution and in essence, the 95% complete form documents that do have all those blanks. But there is a reason for the blanks, and that is why.
Thanks for the clarification. All right, Diane.
Okay, so I like to make a motion that we move and approve the resolution 21.2022.13, authorizing the issuance and sale of the 2021 general obligation refunding bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $9 million to refinance outstanding bonds of the district and approving related documents and actions as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mark. Roll call, please.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Moss.
Yes.
Trustee Ferrucci.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, our last item.
Can I just make a comment, Mrs.
Of
Zeta,
course,
before
yes.
we move on? I just need to say thanks to Tim, and thank you, John. When I was going through these documents, I don't know about the rest of you,
Yeah.
but I was kind of feeling like, oh my God. I have to tell you, you did an amazing job explaining this because it was making so much sense that I was feeling, my anxiety was actually dropping. I was feeling much calmer. The explanation was amazing. So I just need to commend you for that, and I need to say thank you. So, thanks, Tim.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to item 13.2, consideration and approval of the declaration of need for fully qualified educators that was previously on the May 6th, 2021 agenda under the consent calendar. And I believe that
Thank you,
Mr.
Ms.
Dr.
Ada.
Young? Yes.
Yeah, so as you said, this is really a routine item that we bring forward to you every year, and I think that's why we put it on consent. But it was told to us that it needs to be approved separately. So each year prior to June 30th, public school districts must file with the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing a declaration of need for fully qualified educators. The declaration provides the district's best current estimate of the number of emergency teaching permits and limited assignment permits it may need to appropriately staff its schools, as well as local efforts it will undertake to certify, assign, and develop fully qualified certificated personnel for the pending school year. And then the rest of the resolution talks about the fact that we thought it was okay to do consent. You approved it then, but technically we have to prove it separately. So.
Okay, then, do I have a motion? Hello? Is there a motion on 13.2?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve item 13.2.
Thank you. Do I have a
I'll second it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody's waiting.
Cece, everybody's getting tired. I want to thank you for being here and for showing up online.
Roll call.
Our next
Roll call.
roll call vote. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
Almost there.
It's okay.
President
Yes.
Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Moss. Trustee Ferrucci.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Good job, everybody. We are done with our meeting. I want to thank you for being here and for sharing information with us. Our next regular governing board meeting is November 18th, 2021. Mark your calendars. It could be fun. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Good night.